Christmas is gifts, right? I have to tell you, that's one of my favorite moments in the life of St. Andrew since I've gotten here. Because what you don't understand is, as the person up front, there is no greater fear than asking a question that in your mind the answer is clear to, and running into the brick wall of, you all think there's a different answer. So I stood in the back and I felt for Pastor Mark in that moment. So I think he's out in the lobby, or he's fielding Twitter feeds. So for the sake of Pastor Mark, let's just do this one time for him. The purpose of Christmas is gifts, right? See, now he can sleep tonight. He can feel good. I think maybe it's better said that the purpose of Christmas is stress, or maybe the result of Christmas is stress. Is that fair? Yes. Any of you stressed about Christmas? I am, because in a couple hours, several hundred of you are going to descend on my home. And that produces a little stress, right? But there's a lot about Christmas that can stress you out, from finances and parental expectations and gift giving and what to cook and whose house to go to. And there is an awful lot that can stress us out during this time of year. That's why we decided to do this series on stresses of Christmas. So today, we started the series last week. Today, I'm just going to repeat what we said last week, and that is this. Keep your phone out today. I know that's strange to hear in worship, but keep your phone out. And as God kind of gets you thinking, at least we hope that's the case this morning, gets you thinking, just hashtag stressed Christmas, and we're taking those comments, and during our Wednesday midweek worship, we're using your questions and your comments and your thoughts as the basis for what we talk about on Wednesday nights this Advent. So as something is stirred in you, just post it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and hashtag stressed Christmas. And for those of you right now who think that's a pound sign on the screen and have no idea what we're talking about when we talk about hashtags, you can just write on your attendance card if you'd like, or make a little note on a new attendance card and give it to the ushers when you leave, because we want you to be part of wrestling through these stresses of Christmas, because it's stressful, right? At least at times. The question is, how do we as disciples, followers of Jesus, how do we handle this? Because it's kind of strange that this time of year, one of the pinnacles in the church year, right, that this would produce stress in those of us who follow Jesus. That's a weird deal, really, if you stop and think about it. I know it generates stress because this week I got the call. Maybe some of you have made this call recently. Maybe some of you have received this call recently, but here's how the call went on my end. Son, my dad. Son, if you expect to get anything for Christmas this year, you better get your mom your list. She's checking email every hour, and it's stressing her out. So get her the list. Click. Yes, Dad. And you make that phone call? By the way, life kind of got in the way after that phone call, so several hours later, when I still hadn't emailed my list, I got a return call that was even more awesome and encouraging. We finally got him the list. But it's stressful, right? But all of it kind of generates this question for me. And the question is this: what's the point of gifts at Christmas? What's the purpose? I mean, is the purpose so that you can have that momentary wow, right? You know, when you buy that super awesome, spectacular, they're going to love this gift, and you give it to them, and then you sit waiting anxiously, and they tear into it, and you have that one brief moment of woohoo that lasts just until they put it down and get the next present, right? And we all have those people in our lives that are just flat out hard to purchase gifts for. I mean, we have the other two. We have those people that are just easy. Like, you know them, and you know they love cookbooks or Legos or whatever, and so you just rock that present. But then there are those people that you just don't know what to do with. And so inevitably you buy them a mug with Hershey's Kisses in it, right? Or bath salts, or something. But what's the purpose of it all? Is it just to satisfy your own kind of codependent need to see excitement on the face of someone? Or is it because the people you're giving stuff to legitimately have need and you're meeting it? I mean, do any of us, or few of us anyway, give gifts that really speak to a need? Like my kids don't need more Legos or more technology. They don't need it, right? Grandparents, I know you believe this to be true, but your grandchildren may actually not need another formal dress. So why do we do it? What's the point? When I was a little kid, as you all know from hanging out with us, all John Dehne stories happened when I was 8. So when I was 8 years old, I badly wanted this super awesome motorcycle, dude. Now, I have to explain it to you. It was this black box with a handle, and you, like, clipped in the motorcycle guy to it. And you know what I'm talking about? Yeah! And you, like, cranked it up really hard, and when you reached a certain RPM, right before your arm, like, gave way, the motorcycle took off and did tricks. It was awesome. And I so badly wanted that present that I started telling everyone. Now, you need to understand, in my family, it kind of works like this. When you fill out a Christmas list, and you can decide whether this is really good or really terrible, but when you fill out a Christmas list, you know what you're going to get? The stuff that was on the Christmas list. It's like spending your parents' money to buy your own present. So as a kid, I had to get this motorcycle. Everything about me that Christmas was wrapped up in this motorcycle. I had to have it. It was awesome. It's the coolest toy. You crank it up, and it does tricks. And so one Sunday morning after worship, we went to my grandparents' house because I figured that was the best opportunity to get the awesome motorcycle. We went to my grandparents' house as we did every Sunday. We would go to worship, and then we would go to my grandparents' house to watch wrestling. True. Not sure I should tell you that, but it is true. So we went and we were watching wrestling, and during WrestleMania, I snuck out and decided to explore my grandparents' home. Covertly, of course, I started kind of opening cabinets in the kitchen, opening closets and looking under beds. And then I went to the guest room. And I crawled way back in the corner under the guest room bed. And you know what I found? 2 boxes. Because I have a twin brother. Anything one of us gets, the other one gets. I found 2 boxes, and I gently pulled them out, and lo and behold, like angel choirs sang. It was beautiful because it was my motorcycle guy. So I pushed it back in, and I went back to wrestling, and I just beamed, I'm sure, for weeks, waiting for the big day on Christmas Eve when I got to open presents. It was awesome. I knew it was coming. So we rolled into Christmas Eve, and I kind of checked out all the boxes. That one's too big. That one's too little. That one has someone else's name. That's the one. There it is, right there. So the whole Christmas, I'm sure I'm opening underwear and whatever else parents give you, and grandparents give you, and throwing that aside because I wanted to get to that box. And we finally got to it. It was the last present I opened, and I tore into that sucker. You know what I found? Something else. It was the last present. How is this possible? I saw with my own eyes my awesome motorcycle, dude. How has it not materialized in the pile of stuff that I have inherited this evening? How is that possible? And so being me, some of you can appreciate this, I confronted Grandma. I know that you bought the present. Where's my motorcycle guy? And Grandma said, I know you know that I bought the motorcycle guy. I don't know if she had booby-trapped it under the bed or what, but she knew I'd found it, and so she didn't give it to me. She said, oh, yeah, let's together. Oh, thank you. That's what I needed. She didn't give it to me. She said, John, here's the deal. Now, I'm sure these weren't her exact words. I don't remember her exact words, but I'll just make them up for the sake of the argument because I remember the tone of them, and the tone of them was this: John, you're losing sight of what Christmas is and getting hung up in stuff. And I don't want you hung up in stuff. I want you hung up in your Savior. So you're not getting the motorcycle guy. Now, I wish I could tell you that I was this awesomely pious, mature little boy who just bowed and said, "Thank you, Grandma, for this profound life lesson." But I threw a fit. I probably threw a fit for weeks, in fact, throwing stuff in my bedroom. Where's my motorcycle guy, right? But I remember that because in that moment, even though it irritated and frustrated and drove me crazy, I remember that my grandparents were trying to teach me a lesson about the purpose of Christmas. And this Christmas especially, I've been chewing on that and wrestling with this question of what are gifts for? Because I would venture to say that few of us remember very many gifts that we've received in the course of our lifetime. Is that safe? I mean, there might be that one special truck that was like the world to you. Your dad drove a truck and this looked just like his truck, and so you cherished it. Or that doll that you like named and then drug until it was like destroyed virtually, right? You may have had that one gift, or maybe even those couple of gifts. For me, it was motorcycle dude. You might have had those special gifts, but as a whole, I'll bet you don't remember many of them. So why do we do this thing that causes us stress? It causes us stress as the purchaser, and it causes us stress as the recipient. This strange thing of gift giving at Christmas. Why do we do it? First Christmas. Now we know they probably didn't show up the night of the first Christmas, but let's pretend that they did, because that's the way we tell this story every Christmas, right? First Christmas, we get these dudes bringing gifts. Yeah? I mean, first we had angels and shepherds and all this stuff showing up and hanging out with Jesus, but then we get this strange thing in Matthew's gospel about these guys, these wise people, these magi from the east who show up to give Jesus presents. So maybe there's something to learn about the purpose of giving gifts at Christmas from these original Christmas gift givers. Maybe you've never thought about it, but babies don't have a lot of use for gold. So when you're purchasing gifts this Christmas for your kids, don't purchase them gold, okay? Don't go out and give them a block of gold. Your pastor will accept a block of gold as a Christmas present, but your kids definitely don't want one. Right? Or frankincense or myrrh, this oils and spices and stuff. What is the point of these gifts that these wise dudes bring to an infant, a snot-nosed, spit-uppy, other fluid-producing, I'll be kind because we're in worship, child, right? What's the purpose of these gifts? Well, the purpose is, interestingly, those three gifts mirror what the Jews expected from the Savior. They expected him to be the prophet, the priest, and the king. They expected him to fulfill Israel's expectations. And so when they bring these three gifts to this little snot-nosed baby, what they're declaring is not, "Yay, look how awesome I am," or "Yay, look, we hope you're delighted that you got a brick of gold." No, what they're declaring is who Jesus is. Now let's stop for a second and let that soak in. This Christmas and every Christmas, we get to celebrate. In the Dehne house, we set out our plastic nativity. That's so far out of date right now, it's not even funny, but we've set it up now for 20 years. We're going to set it up again. And we sing carols, and we bake cookies. But the purpose of everything for us as followers of Jesus is the fact that you, my brothers and sisters, are a train wreck. Yeah, you liked hearing that, didn't you? You're a mess, right? All of us could join the Apostle Paul when we say what we want to do, we don't do, and what we don't want to do, that's what we do. I mean, we're a mess, but we're loved, but we're his. See, that's what Christmas is. It is God realizing that his creatures, his creation, people had gone off the rails. And so he comes to walk among us, to live in the midst of us, to love us not at a distance, but up close in human form. That's pretty cool stuff, right? So when we talk about gift giving, we need to have in our mind this spectacular thing that Christmas is. It is the God of the universe confining himself to human form and walking among us. When we think about gift giving, we need to remember who we are. Because see, you're just not some dude or some gal any longer. You're a child of that living God. He has placed his name on you in baptism. He has called you his own. He has taken over your life. Now, you don't live that life perfectly any more than I do, but it's still his to live through you. So this Christmas, I want to challenge you a little bit. As we talk about gift giving, I want to challenge you to make gift giving not about new underwear or Legos or toy trucks. Not to make it about that momentary joy that you see on the face of your grandchildren or your spouse or your parents, but instead to make it about Jesus. The perfect, incredible, awesome gift that we share. And like the Magi, we want to make our gifts a proclamation of who he is and who we are because of him. Yeah? I like that. Let's do that again. Yeah? All right. So how do you do it? How do you do it? Well, here's what we do in our home, and I'm just going to share this with you. If you choose to write me off, that's cool. If you choose to listen, that's awesome, because everyone should listen to me. Right, Jill? I just want to give you some ideas that we do as our family. See, a couple of years ago when we were at the seminary, we lived in a luxurious 800 or 900 square foot apartment. And with 2 kids, out of necessity, there wasn't a lot of options for, storing more Legos. So we decided then that twofold. One, we didn't have any space, and secondarily, we wanted to teach our children something about this holiday. And so we decided that our kids would get one present from us. Some of you are like, Scrooge. One present. And then we as a family would decide on another, much larger present to give away. Here are some options for you if you choose to consider this. First of all, here at St. Andrew, this is what the Dehne family is doing this year. This was the present that our family chose. We have been running a campaign to purchase bikes for missionaries in Kenya. They're about $100 a bike. Our goal is to buy 200 of them. You can do the math. Okay, you don't have to buy a whole bike. You can buy part of a bike. It doesn't matter. The point is not how much money you give to this. It's teaching your children. Remember, we are about loving God, loving others, and making disciples. This is a making disciples move. This is saying to your family and your friends that it's not just about more stuff. It's about following Jesus. Second option is raising money for clean water. It's not about Keurig, by the way. It's about raising money for clean water. Some of you have seen me in worship wear a black t-shirt with a bright yellow jerry can on the front, and many of you have come to me and said, what's with the shirt? Well, that shirt is actually this organization, Charity Water, and they raise money and give water, clean water away to people in the world who don't have it. It's something that I'm passionate about and excited to support. You can join something like that, or this. Heifer International, or World Vision, or Compassion, any of those organizations will send you, if you request it, a catalog that has everything from goats and cows and water buffaloes to trees and chickens and fishing kits and all kinds of stuff that you can purchase. Prior to purchasing bikes this year, our family tradition when we got this catalog was to sit down and pick something together. And what's really funny, my kids are here, so I have to do this over here because they're sitting over there. So we're going to pretend like they can't hear us. What's awesome about my kids is they think it's going to the same people, I think. Because when we sit down and have the conversation, they'll go, we can't buy a fishing kit. We bought a fishing kit last year. They already have a fishing kit. Yes, they do, so let's buy something else. But we would sit down, and it was actually a cool family thing to sit and just pick, what are we going to give money away to this year? And it was always fun to celebrate. Other options. This is our church body, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, a couple of years ago started the Lutheran Malaria Initiative to combat this ridiculous problem on the continent of Africa of malaria. So you could go to their website and support the Lutheran Malaria Initiative. The short story is you could do anything. It doesn't really matter what. But the question is, what's the point of gifts? Are gifts just to acquire more junk or to satisfy a self-desire for pleasure? Or are gifts actually a way to make disciples of your kids, your grandkids, your spouses, your parents, your grandparents? See, that's the question. What do you want your gift giving to be about? Here's what's fascinating about this, however. We started by talking about stress. Jill, do you have stress about what we're getting our kids? No. See, what's fascinating is when you take this approach, it doesn't become about the what. Because, see, if we gave you a chicken or a pig or a cow or a tree or a fishing kit, do you really care which one? You sure? Maybe fishing. It doesn't matter. See, that's what's beautiful. It takes the stress out of it because you can't pick a wrong present. Oh, man, this year we got clean water for someone. What a bummer. They really like their dirty water. All right, you can't go wrong when you focus on Jesus. And when Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, becomes the center not only of who we are, but of how we give gifts to one another, we open the portals to disciple making, where we get to have conversations about this identity that we have in Jesus, because Jesus told us to care for the least of these. That as his people, his church, we're supposed to be his hands and his touch to a hurting world. So why not model that this Christmas, right? Instead of buying more stuff. I mean, do any of you need more stuff? Because I got a garage full. Come and get it. It's about him and his ultimate gift to us, his people. Yeah?